Here we go.
Wow.
I'm excited about tonight. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live and the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. We are simulcast with KGRADB.com, KGRA on Facebook and on YouTube. And we're finally into a new month. The month of March. This week flew by. It was like we just did the show with the Rathmans yesterday. It just absolutely was such a quick week. Hope everybody's doing well. Thank you, and welcome to everybody in the chat. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget the thumbs up and the reminder bell for upcoming content. We got some stuff to talk to you about here in just a few minutes. But thank you. My name is George Lopez. With me, as always, from the great state of Rhode Island, Mr. Ken DaCosta. We are in absolute joyous weather right now down here. And Ken, joyous for you is anything above 35, I think, right?
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's T-shirt weather. Literally is. It literally is. When it hits 40, it's like I don't have to put on a coat to go get the mail anymore. It's great.
What's wrong with you people?
Hardy New Englanders. Swamp Yankee blood.
Thick-blooded. There we go. Yeah, it's an interesting week and some great stuff going on because I am a couch potato when it comes to programs. Got back with Star Trek Picard. Has started again. The Mandalorian. A couple things on Disney, a couple things on Prime, and I just completed. I binged a show that how it escaped me because I haven't laughed this well in a long time. Was Boston?
Cody's here tonight. They're in West Virginia.
Good. Yeah, they're on the way down to Florida. Matter of fact. And they're coming during Bike Week. So, Cody, if you can hear me 360 degree while you're in the car, watch everywhere, man, because it's like 500,000 bikes coming to Daytona.
She'll never notice.
Please, yeah. And then the unique thing happened this week, and I wanted to go over this briefly, Ken. I know there's something you wanted to bring up before we bring our wonderful guests on tonight. And it was just made aware to me exactly what this was, but it was quite interesting. And what we're talking about here is the Jupiter-Venus connection.
Mm-hmm. Never seen lights like this or stars like this in the sky before. Never. Never seen a pair of stars like this.
Trying to figure it out,
cool.
How I've never seen this in my life. There it is again. That's from the backyard. Now you see what's strange about it is the angles that they were at. Like this one here is, you'd say 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
2 nights later, it's 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock. And, the other one was from the third night. And the third night, a little bit later, about an hour later. And I've never seen it. I've never, ever seen that before. And we were talking to our producer, Bill Forte, prior to the show. And, he says, this is a conjunction is what it's called.
A conjunction.
From Jupiter and Venus. Either they're closer than ever before, and that's why it stood out for me. I mean, it looked like the 2 tip lights on a plane coming towards my driveway. I'm like, what is this? So, I found that out. Very, very unique, though. So I guess it's not a very common thing. Those of you who are in chat may even have taken a chance to look it up better than I did because I couldn't find anything mentioned. But there's a possibility that it's been longer than my life since it happened like this. So quite interesting, Ken. You can see it from your house, too. I'm sure anybody can see it in the world.
Yeah, anybody like in the Western Hemisphere, when I caught it, it was at that 7 o'clock, 2 o'clock movement. When you called me, to check on me, make sure we weren't being invaded or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, it was.
Damn it. No, it didn't happen.
Nah, still here.
Yeah. But you never know what tomorrow will bring.
Never.
Mr. DeCassi, you have a story about your hometown. Is that correct?
I do. Now, this week, I live in a town called Tiverton. It's a pretty quiet seaside town. And this week, everybody in town had a little pep to their step, and their hearts were full. And this was the talk of every Dunkin' Donut shop, of which there are like 15 within a 1 mile radius of me.
Tom Brady's moving into your neighborhood?
No, better than that.
Oh.
So it was the talk of the town on Facebook. But the CBS show Blue Bloods this week mentioned our town's name in an episode.
They're still on air?
Yes, they are. They're not in syndication yet.
Holy Moses.
So they mentioned our town. Apparently, some young woman was facing charges and being interrogated and said, well, my parents were from Tiverton, Rhode Island. So I would just like to publicly thank the writer or writers who may have gotten a flat tire here one day, or just threw a dart at a map and it landed on us, however they managed to do that. This is the biggest thing that's hit Tiverton since the great Charles Nelson Riley got his acting start in dinner theater here in town 60 years ago.
Congratulations, Tiverton. You are finally on the map.
Citizens of Tiverton, be proud this week. You got to mention. I mean, we're not like Los Angeles and Chicago. This is just so incredibly random. But like I said, somebody either got a flat tire here or they just were playing pin the tail on the town and we came up. So, if I feel a little smug and aloof tonight, my heart is full. My ego is just running rampant tonight. Yeah. Thank you, Blue Bloods. A show, by the way, I have to admit, I've never seen.
My dad loves watching Blue Bloods. So when you get up to his age, you'll probably watch it. But keep in mind, too, by October, all your property taxes should go up considerably now.
Yeah. Well, it does have a Tom Brady tie to it because his baby mama is a star of the show, one of the stars of the show. Bridget Moynihan.
6 degrees of separation from Tom Brady.
Right?
That's what we're playing here in Rhode Island, ladies and gentlemen.
He's omnipresent.
I understand we have a announcement to make for our viewing audience. Is that correct?
We do. We've got a big one tonight because we are going to talk a little bit about a new show that's going to premiere on Dead Air Full Spectrum sometime in the next couple of weeks. And we'd like to give you a little taste of this right now before we bring on its stars. So here's what's happening.
Are witches real? Could you live next door to one? Do they have supernatural powers? Can anyone be a witch? My name is Melissa Saint-Hillaire, and I'm a professional witch. Join me as I introduce you to my fellow practitioners when we ask them to reveal their secrets of the craft.
Oh, sorry. There is not one living flower in her garden. I want you to know that. I watched that video. Not one flower. Terrifying. Witches are terrifying. They're worse than Dracula.
I could smell lavender during the entire teaser.
But she's coming on right now, so I don't want to have her be angry with me. So why don't we go ahead?
She can't hear you.
That's right. Go ahead, Ken, and why don't you go ahead and introduce who this lovely lady is?
All right. She is known professionally as the American Witch. We know her as our friend Melissa Saint-Hillaire, who's going to be the host of Secrets of the Craft here. And let's bring her on to tell us a little bit more about it.
Nope. You click. I'll click.
Okay. I'll click.
You click. I'll click.
Hello.
Hey, Melissa.
Hey, thank you for having me back. I'm so excited.
Now, there's no flowers in that garden. Is that because it's all herbs for potions?
Yes, I picked every single one. No, it's it's just winter
Called
here
it.
in LA.
Oh,
But all those
it's
flowers were from my garden. Everything that you see that's in that little promo is from my garden. So
okay. It's already in the chat. Interested already? Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I love it. You sold them. You sold them.
yay!
Jeez. Ken, hang on, Melissa, if I can, 1 second. Ken. She's gonna ask for a raise, Ken. She's gonna ask for a raise already. We haven't even aired the first show. We got it. Did you put anything in the contract?
Less said about that, the better.
Very good. Let's bring her back there. Hey,
Melissa, how
Sorry,
are
hung up on
you?
you for a second.
Good to have you back.
So where's my briefcase of money?
Oh my god. The mute button doesn't work. Congratulations. Why don't you tell our audience about its creation, this series? This is not live like what we do on Sunday nights. This is all recorded travel and interviews, but give everybody kind of an idea of how this came about, the idea, the concept, and a little bit of where you're going to take everyone in this journey.
Sure. Well, a lot of my friends are witches, and I work over at the Green Man. I'm surrounded by witches all of the time, and everyone is super unique and has their own take on the craft. And I find that fascinating. It's not, not everyone is just Wiccan or, the standard styles. There's hoodoo, there's Santeria, there's, I always pronounce the Italian one wrong. It's not Stregheria or something like that. But everyone has their own take on it. And the other thing too is there's a lot of stigmatization around witches. There's people who think they're evil, think that we eat babies, think that we're out worshiping Satan or whatever, which is a Christian concept. It's not a
QAnon thing.
Yeah, there's a whole QAnon thing. I mean, there's just so much negative stuff thrown at witches all of the time. And what I wanted to do was just do a little series where I introduce my friends, each episode, and just show how, like, we're just normal people. We're your neighbors. We're in line behind you at the grocery store. We're just regular people doing regular things, and we're not to be feared. We're not evil. We're not hurting anyone, at least most of us. I can't speak for all of them.
Picking each other's flowers in the yard.
Exactly. Growing herbs and spices and things like that. So,
So I guess the question will be, I know that you have some episodes wrapped up. You're still in the editing stages of this right now. And the promo you've done is fantastic. And it was great to see. And do we have any kind of an idea on our time frame right now?
I'm aiming for the start of April. So everything is shot. There were originally supposed to be 6 interviews, and then I lost one of the people that I was going to interview couldn't do it at the last minute, but I pivoted, and that episode is going to now be a bonus episode, which we're going to see some teaser footage later today about that one. So it's
Nice.
going to be, I'm blending sort of the witchcraft with my ghost hunting, because to me it all goes hand in hand anyway, because my witchcraft is all about spirits. So why not integrate it? But yeah, so I still have to edit all 6 episodes, and I shot a lot of footage, and I am a one-woman show. But that trailer that you all just saw, I literally taught myself Adobe Premiere like that day before, and then I created the trailer. So, it's going to be fun. It's going to be an adventure, and I'm going to work like heck to get that like ready for you guys and out as soon as possible.
Right.
Wow.
We're looking forward to it because we've always said that we're pretty eclectic here, and we want to put forth, a lot of diversity within the paranormal community. And
education.
when we talked about this just seemed to be phenomenal. Something that people will want to see. And what's important is, as you said, they get to see these people and meet these people, and whose emporiums they walk by. But you'll give us an inside look at that.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to take you inside the Green Man store and a couple other secret places that I'm not ready to reveal yet. There's a haunted location, actually a couple of haunted locations, to be honest, and some very interesting witches. We're going to be shown how some of them practice tarot, how some of them do energy healing. I have a kitchen witch who's going to show us magical cookies, and I have the whole recipe to share with everybody too.
Magical cookies.
Not to be confused with, magic brownies.
Okay, George. I'm getting an idea for season 2 where these people go into haunted locations in and around Los Angeles. I'm seeing like perhaps even maybe a couple of live episodes, live streamed in on them.
I love that idea.
Goodness gracious. Lord knows you have enough of a crew around you, and we want to go ahead and introduce our audience to some of them, because there was a location and investigation that you're recently a part of. Now, normally I ask Ken to do the introductions, but why don't you give everybody a little background on the location, and then who is here with us tonight to talk about this great area?
Yeah, so before I shot any of my interviews, I had a group of us were going to go to the Glen Tavern Inn in Santa Paula, and we decided to shoot stuff.
Wow.
I was kind of doing it as an experiment, just to see how my brand new camera works and things like that, and just get used to being on camera. But then, and we all thought it was going to be just this like totally normal, regular, investigation. We've been on a few of them before together, like at the LAPD museum. But then something really magical happened about halfway through our investigation. And I noticed that this blend of paranormal investigators and psychic mediums created this unique dynamic where we didn't just observe and record spirit phenomena, but we also ended up helping some distressed spirits. And to me, I saw this as a way, as like opening a door to a whole new approach to ghost hunting with a higher purpose, where we serve spirits and help them.
Spirit rescue.
Exactly.
Exactly that. So who do we have with us here tonight joining you?
So tonight we have some of our team members. We had a bigger crew, but not all of them could join today. But we have Mikey Thompson joining us. And we have, yes, Mikey Thompson is our audio extraordinaire. Among other things, he's also highly intuitive. Actually, everybody that was there is super intuitive. We also have Cheryl Plumb.
Hello.
And she's another phenomenal paranormal investigator and also highly intuitive. And then last but not least, we have Natasha. And Natasha is actually one of the people who helped bring us all together. It was Natasha and Tim. Tim couldn't be with us here tonight, but they went to the Glen Tavern once beforehand, and they did a whole investigation that I couldn't go to. And I was like, next time you guys go, please bring me. So they invited me the next time. And then we just amassed this team together, and we ended up getting like phenomenal footage, phenomenal EVPs. It was a blast.
Wow.
We're going to be seeing a lot of that tonight, just to let you know. In the show description, we have quite a few clips we're going to get to tonight, and in going over them and preparing them for the show. And I told everybody this, quite impressed with what they came away with at this location. So we'll get into that in a little bit.
Who would like to introduce some of the story and history behind this location?
I'm going to throw that to Natasha. Do you want to talk to us about the location?
Sure. So first of all, I'll apologize for my cough. I'm getting over the flu, so as are many people at this time. I've always wanted to go to the Glen Tavern. I'm sure many of you have seen the investigations that are in the popular shows on Travel Channel, and it was calling me. So I am a medium, and it was just calling to me and drawing me to it. So I talked to Tim, who's also a medium, and the two of us decided to go. And we booked a couple of the most haunted rooms. And during that, we just had such an amazing experience. I was telling them before the show that I got called a banshee by this spirit that Melissa's gonna talk a lot about later. But I had to make a deal with him, and we were able on that occasion to also pass on a spirit that was just waiting to move on. So it's a very interesting place, and you're going to enjoy these clips we have. There's a lot of history there. It's been around for quite a long time, and it was around for the dam flooding, the San Francisco Dam when it burst. And my personal belief, I think a lot of those spirits are there.
Cheryl,
I know
something to add
had
for
a little
you?
bit,
Yeah. Ken, you and I are like this, man. I swear. Go ahead. Cheryl.
Yeah, so it was built right about 1911. So I mean, we're talking about over 100 years that this place has been able to stay afloat. No pun intended, because in what was it? Yeah, 1928, the St. Francis Dam, it collapsed, and I mean, this is the second worst disaster in California history after the 1906 earthquake. So I mean, it caused a lot of damage all the way from where it is around Santa Clarita to the Pacific Ocean. It took about 5.5 hours for the water to get from where the dam was to the Pacific Ocean. So they had about 411 people die. I don't know if that's exact, because I don't know who might not have been accounted for. But I mean, that's a ton of death. That's a ton of destruction. And I mean, even for the people that made it through that kind of a disaster, I mean,
no early warning on that back in the
no,
day either.
absolutely not.
You just see a tsunami coming at
No,
you.
absolutely not. So I mean, it was used as an inn. It was used as a gambling hall, a speakeasy during Prohibition, and a brothel. So there's a lot of different walks of life that go into this hotel. So I think that's what brings so much different spirit and makes it so much fun to go there. There's just so much.
And we were taking a look at some shots of the place, and definitely a different day or a different place in the daytime, as most usually are, and then at night.
Amazing.
And inside absolutely beautiful. We took a look at the piano. Do you guys have anybody who dusts around there? Looks like we've got a little scribbling on the windows there. I don't know
Frost?
if
Is
that's
it
meaningful
frost?
at all. But...
Yeah.
And then I know that you guys are going to talk about the infamous room 307 a little bit later on. But to give everybody kind of a little bit of the flavor of this place, and we've seen it on shows like Dead Files, we've seen it on Ghost Adventures, and you had an opportunity to go in there and do your own thing. So tonight we're going to play these clips and let you set them up for our audience tonight, and tell us a little bit about your process. What I have tried to do is put them in some form of chronological order in terms of you first getting there, and you can walk us through the process.
Well, basically, I didn't want to know anything about this location before arriving to it. As part of being a psychic medium, I don't like to have any outside influence on or impressions of a location like this. I like to go in completely blind and just experience it and see what I pick up, see what I vibe on. I learned that technique with the LAPD museum with the dark zone investigation, and I found that it worked really, really well for me because I got some real immediate validation there, where I would hear, I would say I'm feeling this, and they'd be like, okay, we're checking in, and this thing happened. So I set this up with everyone for the Glen Tavern Inn, the same process. They all had information and background about the location, and I knew nothing going in. So I'm not sure which clips you're going to show first, but there's a couple walkthroughs that show me.
We'll start with the second floor.
Okay, yeah, I'm just walking through and I'm just sharing what I'm getting. And the whole time Cheryl is like snickering behind me because she knew what happened and she knew what was dead on and stuff.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things real quick that, I want to get into, and I'm kind of speaking for George here, because when groups bring mediums in, there's always a process. Obviously, you follow a protocol that I think we both definitely agree with, in as much as your medium will go in first and you will take everything that she says, corroborate it if it's documentation, and if not, then you write it down and maybe return to it later on. It's a good solid approach if everybody's going to work together.
Exactly. All right, so what clip are we going with first?
I don't know. No, we're going to go with we will go with the second floor walkthrough. And Melissa, how long were you here before you guys began?
I literally hopped out of the car, walked inside, and it was like, Cheryl, let's start filming.
Okay, sounds good. And and we always know that Mikey's there, Cheryl's there with a camera at all times, and our good friend Jay Blunky was with you as well.
Jay.
So here is second floor walkthrough. Melissa has just jumped out of the car.
My guides are talking to me right now. That's why I'm stopping and closing my eyes. They're just sort of checking in with me to make sure that I'm okay. And they're telling me that there are several entities on this property. We got a mix of male and female, and then something that doesn't feel human, which is interesting to me. It feels very low vibrational. I wouldn't be surprised if people have heard growling here, or scratching, clawing, rattling, things like that. I'm also hearing or being told that there's a sound of screams sometimes. I think female screams. Fear and struggle and fight all wrapped on it. So that's also strange.
Interesting.
Yeah. I can't hear it though. That's just my guides
Telling you.
Yeah.
So you're getting that on the second floor or in this specific?
This specific area, it was and it was something to do with going out this exit. So
I've got goosebumps. I can't wait to tell you.
Okay, right here I'm getting a young girl. Age-wise, somewhere between 5 and 10. There's an old-fashioned feeling to her. I'm seeing flowers or possibly a flower print or pattern. A dress, I think. She's playing. With that, I wouldn't be surprised if people heard like knocks or raps on doors or like balls bouncing or footsteps.
Okay, Melissa, coffee in hand.
Yeah, I told
Right,
you.
Like I said, we just got there.
Immediately, my thing is that, and you'll see this in the second clip, I don't want to give too much away, but it seems to be a place where some type of conflict is going on. So, Mikey, I don't know how much you knew about the place before you got there, if you did your due diligence, or when you're going into a place like this where there is apparently some conflict, whether that's interdimensional or with living people, what's going through your head there, and how does it inform what you want to set up and where?
Well, for me, for this particular investigation, I was super excited to have Melissa and Natasha and Tim there. Because they feel things and they're mediums. They see things that we don't see.
Yeah.
So I'm used to going into these places with my equipment and trying to find stuff with the equipment. But to have this team with a second whole new window of things to look forward to. When I went into Glen Tavern this time, I've been there multiple times before, and we've gotten EVPs, we've gotten changes in the atmosphere that we've detected with equipment. But I wanted to. Nobody said anything to Melissa, like we've all talked about. We wanted her to get a feel of the location, but more importantly, I didn't really want to bring up anything that I had experienced there before because I didn't want to force anything. Like if it came through, great. If it didn't, great. I wanted to see what Melissa, Natasha, Tim were picking up on, and it may be completely different from something that I had gotten there before, experienced it before, but run with it because we've had the opportunity to work with each other before, like at the LAPD museum,
right?
And we've done these little things before when we were there with Rick and Melissa for the events there, and so we've had little tastes of this collaboration in the past. But this really felt like an opportunity for me to expand on and use their gifts and combine them. So we set up the usual equipment. Cheryl, our audio goddess, had every recorder ready to go, and we had all of our equipment out. We did a couple of different things I'll talk about later too that we haven't tried before, but mostly we wanted to pick up on what Natasha, Melissa, Tim were picking up on and run with it from there.
Right. And I want to jump in real quick here. Cheryl, and Natasha, when Natasha, Melissa, Tim comes in and they give you beyond documentation, they give you emotional content. It's like, 100%. Now we know what these people are thinking. I can tell you when you were born, when you died, when you were there. But when you get sort of like a peek behind the curtains, that's a whole different ball game. That's some real inside baseball there.
That's why this group is so special. Because like I was saying in the video, I can't wait to tell you. Because I know that on that second floor, there was a fire that broke out in April of 2006. Now, luckily, it was at like 1 p.m. It wasn't in the evening when people were sleeping, but people were running out both of those exits. So when she was like, "Oh, I feel something going on around this door," and I'm like, "Oh, I can't wait to say something," because literally they had to evacuate like 30 out of the 35 rooms.
Chaos.
Because of this fire. And it was a big fire, caused a ton of damage. I don't know if it was in the upwards of $800,000 to $1 million or plus, but yeah, so that part of it. And then they also had tons of claims of hearing children in the hallways. And she's talking about, they might hear raps on the door. Well, that's exactly what's happened. On that second floor, even a nurse had, stayed there for a little while. And she called the owner in the middle of the night and was like, I just had the blankets pulled off of me and both the closet and the bathroom door were open. So she nailed it on both ends of that hall. So hard to keep my mouth shut.
And there you go, George. On this show, we hear people say, how come there's no energies picked up from anywhere other than 100 years ago? It's not true.
Right. No. And again, it's one of the things that we theorize time and again within this field is that, and I'm guessing, Cheryl, no one perished in that fire.
Exactly.
However, there is still that energy and that kind of high adrenaline, I've got to get out of here. Panic. It might be impressed upon the wood. The whole property itself is going to be a bit of a museum of all activity, not necessarily just those who passed.
I like to think of it as an aura, because, we talk about people having an aura, someone will say, oh, I can see your aura, or whatever. But in my opinion, everything has an aura because an aura is just an energy field. And within the energy field, there are imprints
of events, especially traumatic events. They'll imprint themselves. So, when I go to a place like that, I'm feeling the energy of the location. So it's not just spirits; it's sort of like an echo of what transpired there.
Right. I do have a question for Natasha with regards to just the pictures that Ken showed at the beginning. Just that property screamed, even though from an architectural standpoint, not even close, the Overlook Hotel. I'm not saying the Stanley, but the Overlook Hotel. Out in the woods, nothing else around. What is geographically around this tavern?
Oh, everything. It's in the middle of a town.
Oh, okay. So it's, one of the things that I was wondering is whether or not, because of the way that it looked, was there an aspect of elementals? And I guess I could ask you that. I could also ask that of Melissa if she sensed anything like that.
There's something dark. And, I would talk about it the way I view it. I would talk about it more as the land.
Yeah, because I would imagine, Natasha, that the town was built up around it if it's been
right.
Well, are we talking, when we talk land, are we talking without talking Native American influence?
Likely. I mean, we took everything away from them.
Yeah.
So
no question. I mean, for that matter, that's why there's Native American influences in so much of this country regards to the paranormal, because the injustices were flat out everywhere. So I'm sorry, Ken, I didn't mean to take away, because I know we got more clips that we need to get to, but I was just curious about that. Thank you, Natasha, for answering that question.
Yeah. We want to welcome John Bill Clinton Smith from Manchester, England. United fan here, John.
Good night, Mike.
Big United fan here.
Hey. Wrexham, but that's, of course,
Wrexham. The Glen Tavern is right next to the railroad tracks. Okay.
And that's Tim. That's our Tim.
Yeah.
He's the one that started this whole thing.
He did. It was all him.
Blame it on Tim.
A lot of energy from railroad tracks. I have a big story on that we can't get to tonight, maybe another time. All right, let's move on to your third floor walkthrough, and then we will get on to some of these evidence clips that you sent us. But here's Melissa.
Yes.
On the third floor.
I'm getting two male figures. I'm getting that they're arguing. There's anger. There's pushing. If people have been said that they've been pushed up here, I would not be surprised, because I'm getting that sensation. There's also like a hesitancy feeling. I don't know how to describe it. It's making my heart pound. It's making me want to take deep breaths. There's a heaviness on my chest. There's a pressure on my head. It feels very connected to here. I'm being told don't go in there. Okay, so there's something dark, there's something heavy right between these two doors here. This feels like a threshold. I feel like when I step from here to here, I feel like I'm crossing a threshold, and things get strange over here at this end. I feel like I'm being watched. I feel like I'm being cautiously watched. I'm getting almost like a threatening vibe. Anger. I really wouldn't be surprised if people heard the words "get out" over here. I'm being told I want to talk to you.
We're going to.
Yeah. messages. Something about needing help. Doesn't want to say or do something. It's weird. There's two different feelings. There's a feeling of wanting to talk, but then there's a feeling of reluctance. There's a claustrophobic feeling. I don't know how else to describe it. Almost as if the entity is trapped.
I want to ask this question to the American Witch. Now, we've had enough psychics as friends, co-investigators, and guests on the show who talk about the ability. Turn it on, turn it off. It's a switch when you're doing what you're doing. I know for me, as I've tried to hone that sixth sense ability, I get into an area and I'm like, this feels like it's haunted. And so let me put out my feelers. How do you go about that practice? Because obviously also when you travel, you stay at different hotels, resorts, whatever it may be. Does that force you to click on sometimes in that sixth sense starts to kick in? Do you shut it down because you're on vacation? How do you manipulate that characteristic of your mind?
Well, it actually took me years upon years to learn how to shut it down. And it took a lot of training because for me, it's just always on. I had a tricky time growing up and trying to exist in the world because I was constantly bombarded with everybody's energy all the time. And so I had to sort of learn I kind of think of it like a bubble, as if there's like a bubble around me and I kind of pull in all of my feelers and just like wrap them around me. But, so for me, it's like, it's always on and I have to just like dampen it. But when I'm out in the world and places, it can take me by surprise sometimes where I think, oh, I'm fine, I'll be okay. And I went to Pompeii and I was bombarded by feelings, and it was way too much. And I should have done a little bit more to protect myself. There's also a motel in Bar Harbor, Maine. And and I mean, I went there with my mom. We're just shopping. It's like not a big deal. I wasn't even thinking about ghosts or anything. So I didn't think to like turn down my feelers because lots of times I'll keep them on in the world just because it keeps me safe, But we go to sleep at night in this motel and my mom, she's out like a light and I'm trying to get to sleep. And all of a sudden I look down and I feel something crawling up my feet and up my legs. And I look and I see this like ghostly outline of a face with teeth, and I was like, okay. Yeah, I was like, okay, great. I won't be getting any sleep whatsoever the entire time we're here. And, and this happened well before I really knew how to turn it off. So I was just kind of trapped with this darn spirit, but yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, it's always on. It can be draining though. So it's good to learn to turn these things off, so that you can just exist in the mundane world,
Cheryl, how was her accuracy on that third floor?
Oh man. I mean, you're going to see from the clips that we sent that, everything that she said came to fruition. 308 was not a very happy place to go. And somebody definitely needed help in 307.
Oh, wow. How is this place, to your knowledge? Natasha, you set this up, or Mikey, anybody can answer because Mikey's been there before. How is this place? Two-part question. Number one, does ownership embrace the haunted aspect of this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll take that as a yes.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to welcome Tim McNiff to the broadcast now, too. Hi, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Ken. No problem.
Okay. And second question is, are there a lot of reports of these things somehow infringing upon guests? Yes. Anybody can answer this with a background.
Have you talked to the staff?
Yeah. The previous time we were there, it seemed like even we would stop the hotel staff that was cleaning rooms and stuff. And actually the gal who's now the manager, we've spoken with her previously about her experiences, and she's like, I don't even like the second floor, let alone the third floor. And so now she's the manager. And I mean, they've got a whole team now that just does paranormal stuff. So, I mean, they really are embracing this, but keeping people safe. They let them know, like, hey, stuff's going on here. So that's a good thing about it.
Right. And you were on the third floor, and that brings us to really quick the infamous room 307. There are a couple of resident spirits at this place. I think is Clint. Do I have the name Clinton right?
Calvin.
Yeah, Calvin is
Calvin.
supposed to be
Close enough.
Yeah.
And in room 307, I didn't bring Tim in here because he just got to it. Tim, what do you know? What can you tell us about this room 307?
Well, I can say that when we were there the last time, me and Natasha, we tried to get room 307, and I thought I had got it. So I would have had 307 and 308, but for some reason, there was a mix-up, and a family, father and his two kids were actually got the room and stayed in it that night. And I talked to him in the morning when he was checking out, and they were all freaked out.
Did they know?
There was knocking coming from the closet. There was scratching and weird noises coming from the room behind, next to them.
Mm-hmm.
But there is no room.
Okay.
It's all storage on that side.
Did they know this going in? Is this what they came for, or did they find after the fact? Well, you know, there was a similar thing that happened at the Conjuring House where somebody set their buddy up and told him it was an Airbnb. So they went in, spent the night there. A guy woke up in the middle of the night, saw the rocking chair going back and forth, and it was check, please, I'm out of here. So it's like, everybody out there, don't do that to your buddies and your family, you know. I want to get into a spirit box session now with Jay and Melissa, and I think I'm not sure if Mikey or Cheryl, which one of you was filming this, but if you want to tell us a little bit about where you are right now in this clip before we get to it.
Right. So we were in room 308, which is the kind of the bigger room right off the staircase.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like the suite. And we had some previous interaction in the bathroom that was incredible. We had Natasha outside in the little living area with her pendulum, Melissa with her dowsing rods, and me with my yes/no box, which basically just answers yes/no questions. And we were asking yes/no questions and getting these same answers on every device. So, I mean, we were taking all of the forces. You know, Natasha is amazing with her pendulum, and she's spot on all the time. And then same thing with Melissa. But like, I actually had like a tech item that we got to throw in the mix. And so that kind of led us to asking some questions in the bedroom area by the window in 308.
Okay. Yeah, Mike.
Ken, just real quick, you'd asked earlier about the setup for the location. So obviously 306, 307 are hot spots, as well as 308. But before we decided to dive into 307, we all talked about, let's do the honeymoon suite first, and we're going to charge up the hallway between 306 and 7. So I had a friend with me there from Porterville Ghost Society, and he's got this theory about frequencies. And you may have heard this, it's the Amos effect. So what we do is it's an app that you can loop frequencies from lowest to highest and in between. So you're just blasting the hallway with these frequency loops. And then we also had an EM pump in the hallway. So we're charging the hallway between 306 and 7. Because last time we were there, Cheryl stayed in 307, nothing really happened. So we thought, let's give it a little charge. Well, that's true, you were sick. But let's give it a little charge, we'll start in 308. And so we had all this stuff happening in 308, like Cheryl was saying. We were in the bathroom, Natasha's in the living room, everyone's getting the same answers with different equipment. So we're having a ball in there. Meanwhile, hallways charging up before we hit 6 and 7. So.
Right. So you're hoping that by pumping these frequencies in an area that you're going to hit one where, you know, a ethereal being may be on that one and have a little easier time interacting. I mean, I guess that's the theory behind it.
Yes, that's the hope.
Okay. So let's go to this spirit box session right now, and you'll see what I mean. This is interesting.
Were you the gentleman that told me F you?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Now, just know you cannot do anything to this woman.
Don't talk to me.
I am going to talk to you because safety is paramount here and we just want to talk to you. Can you tell me?
You're a punk.
I mean, that's your opinion. So what is your name?
A woman screaming underwater.
Unbelievable. Do you know the name of the woman you murdered?
Quest. Yes, yes.
Okay. Can you tell me
Officer.
Did you get away with multiple crimes?
Something like I don't want to answer. I don't want to answer.
I mean, there's no judge and jury here. We just want the truth.
Yes, sweetheart.
Okay, sweetheart. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Okay, so all of these are a little bit different. What are you pumping in there? Is it white noise, or what is she listening to? And why?
I don't know what that noise is.
No idea.
Let's all mute ourselves for a second.
It wasn't me.
Tim, I think it was you.
Yeah.
So,
it was Tim. Maybe he's got a fan on or something like that, and that fan is making that noise.
Could be feedback.
Did not know.
I'm sorry.
I thought we were still listening to the spirit box.
Yeah, that's an SP.
There's
That's
a
an
TikTok.
SP7. Definitely an SP7.
Yeah.
But not so much a spirit box session as it was an SDS.
I think he found the problem.
Yeah.
So what we did, we like to switch it up a little bit when it comes to doing our spirit box sessions. So, previously we had used Melissa's SB7. We have used an S box. And then this time, because we had such great responses in Scotland, we use the Necrophonic app. And this is from a phone that's not hooked up to any kind of a service. So there's really no way that it can connect to anything else. So we figured we would try it. And I think we got really good results because we found an angry male. We definitely found an angry male on that clip.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is kind of what we were getting at before on the first walkthrough on the second floor, is there seems to be conflict involved in this place. And I can tell you from my own experience, I'm sure you'll agree, that inns, hotels have that type of thing going on because it's a very transient existence. People are in, people are out. People get away from things. People bring their issues into these type of things. And if you're going back to some of them as old as this, then you have that kind of thing with gambling and brothels and maybe the mob involved in things. And, all of those energies tend to linger, past their time. So it's one of those places like, I don't know, theaters, what have you, but hotels seem to hold that as well.
This was also a big filming area. So like Hollywood did a lot of stuff in the heyday.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is pretty close to, or this is like a location that would be close to studios, or does it just have that ambiance to it?
They used it as a outside kind of like filming locations.
Right. Okay.
Also, just to add a little witchy take on it, we often talk in witch world where a lot of energy happens at a crossroads. There's crisis at a crossroads. Energies can be trapped at a crossroads, and anything that is a liminal space can be considered a crossroads. So the lobby of a building or a hotel, because it's not a home. It's a place where people only stay infrequently. So it's that kind of energy as well.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll get to the second one as we're, approaching the break here. So the second session, you're in the same location. So this is pretty much a continuation we're looking at. Okay. Now I'm off.
Uh-oh.
Okay. And I'm back. Oh, everybody's off. All right. So let's get to this. Here's the continuation of that session.
Stuck. Elm.
Where should we go next?
I just got a woman screaming, I need help.
Where are you?
Here.
Where is here?
Up. Soap.
Mm-mm. Were you a prostitute, lady of the night?
No.
No? Did you work here?
Go away. A male voice saying, go away.
Are we asking too many questions for you?
Ask them. Nothing.
I'm sorry.
And
so
then
that's
I'm
not
getting
gonna...
voices that are being
They're being muted?
They're trying to talk, but they keep getting shut up.
Okay, so I want to go from the perspectives here. I was going to bring George back in. He's here. I wanted to go to Mikey because, what were you going to say? What were you going to?
I was just going to talk about the importance of that clip going forward with the rest of this, because what Melissa was hearing in the app and in the spare box, you'll see the whole story comes together. But remember certain things from that clip moving forward, because you were just dead on all the way. And then this ties into what Melissa was feeling before we even started doing this. Right. There were things that, from the other clip, there was a heavy, evil male presence in that honeymoon suite. Melissa said in the previous Spirit Box session that she felt like she heard a woman trying to talk underwater, but there was a point during the investigation in the honeymoon suite where Melissa felt like there was something that had happened in the bathroom in the bathtub. And so we were trying to, we're working with it. There's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes with all of us. Meanwhile, Natasha's got her pendulum, Tim's hearing things, like all this is happening at once, but it's all, it's laying a story out for us, and we just grabbed onto it and followed it. You'll see moving forward.
We are going to move forward right after the break here, guys. And Tim, when you were in the dark, that clicking sound was not there, and it is, if I'm not mistaken, still there. It's I don't know if you can hear that where you're at, but it's something in there that's causing that effect. So see if we can correct it while we go to break. You guys stay with us. You're watching Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. Second hour coming up right after this.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Did you know 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated? If you struggle with focus, run low on energy, or when it's time to finally sleep, you simply can't, this can all be linked to dehydration, and Fuel Up has the answer. Our proprietary formula contains the finest cellular hydration with the strongest immune-enhancing natural ingredients. The Fuel Up system is made up of 3 different incredibly tasting varieties. Wake kickstarts your day with a jolt of caffeine. Play boosts focus while hydrating your cells. Rest not only helps you relax, but also rejuvenates your cells while you sleep. Here's what our clients have to say.
I really don't miss my coffee, and you can tell the difference.
So I'm gonna take it for the energy. I'm gonna take it for the play. I'm gonna take it, all day.
And it works. That's the thing. It works. We love it.
Take the Fuel Up Challenge now, where we offer a Feel the Difference money-back guarantee. Fuel Up for life.
Get ready for the most out-of-this-world weekend Roswell has ever seen. UFO Expo 2023, March 10th through the 12th at the Roswell Convention Center. 3 days packed with 40 different events, including 10 different film screens, producers, celebrity personalities, and renowned speakers. And all just a few blocks from the UFO Museum and Research Center. The 3-day pass includes VIP parties, mixer tents, speakers, live music, film festival, cosplay events, and more. Get tickets and more info at UFOXPO.com. UFO Expo 2023, March 10th through the 12th at the Roswell Convention Center.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to the second hour of our show with our very special guests tonight, Mikey, Cheryl, Melissa, Tim, and Natasha, the Russian spy. We're so happy to have her in there. Hopefully she's feeling better too. Let's check on Tim's sound. Nope, still there.
Still there?
Yeah.
What does it sound like?
Click, 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 click.
Yeah, it's like a very it's like
a metronome.
The second hand and a loud clock. Yeah.
Yes. Someone in chat mentioned it may be in your mic. So.
Oh yeah, it could be. That's true. It could be a connection with your mic.
Yeah, give that a try too, and
we'll try
check back with
It
it.
could also be some kind of weird feedback too.
Yeah. Ken, time for product placement with the Fuel Up. I know you've got that right there in front of you. Make sure you guys use the promo code for Dead Air, and you have an opportunity. It's for morning, it's for rest, it's for everything that you possibly need. So make sure you do check it out. Also, for those who are listening, because I really paid attention on the commercial break, that the advertisement for the listeners, you can always come to the YouTube page, also Dead Air Full Spectrum, to be able to watch us live. I wouldn't recommend that if you're listening in your vehicle and you're driving, but otherwise we'd love to have you over here. But back to the Glen Tavern investigation and some compelling stuff. I got to ask Melissa real quick, and maybe it's not your answer. Maybe it was a choice by someone else in the room to sit in that particular spot during that Estes method. Were you more comfortable there because your back was up against the wall? Did you feel more energy there? Why not sit on the bed? Why was that your choice of location?
I don't know if Cheryl, if you can help me. I don't know if you remember, but I feel like when I walked into that room, I had felt something in that corner. I believe Natasha also, if you want to jump in too, didn't we feel like there was a man in that corner or something like that?
Yes. So the first time I was there, I felt someone in that chair and I communicated with him. And then what was interesting is when Melissa went into the bathroom, she saw exactly what I had seen. the first time. So
And
it was
Natasha didn't tell me what about it.
I didn't tell her, which was hard for me. But
I can imagine, again, it's you want to be able to get the reaction of, here's the story and here's what's going on, because there's a wow factor, there's a scare factor involved with it, but you also have to honor the process for that individual, especially a psychic medium, a sensitive that's going in there, even an empath, to see what they're picking up on also. It was a great dynamic, definitely interesting. And I know, as Ken was saying, there's more to present in the second hour, so I'll leave it back to him.
Yeah, some of the clips we're going to play are a little shorter in nature, so that's why there's no need to rush through them. But I had a question for everybody if you want to weigh in on this. As an observer, it seems as though there's a dominant spirit there who may be controlling, holding someone back, or holding more than one individual back. So before we get into the next clip, can you guys comment on that? Natasha, Melissa, Tim, Mikey, Cheryl, did you get that same impression that I got as just an observer?
100%. I would say we all felt it, and I know Mikey and Cheryl don't like to say that they're mediums, but they're definitely highly intuitive and they pick up on stuff as well. And all of us independently of each other felt this dominant spirit that in it. And, it's not often that you go into a haunted space and feel evil, you know what I mean? Because they're not synonymous. Haunted can be good, they can be kind, benevolent spirits, but in this particular case, this spirit felt actually evil. There was something very cruel about him, something domineering, very, he did feel like he wanted to control all of the other spirits, even the spirits that he may have not harmed himself. He wanted to control them. There seemed to be a child spirit that was the only one that seemed to be able to exist without his influence, which was interesting. But if anyone else, Mikey, did you want to comment on that dominant spirit?
Yeah, from the previous experiences there before, I felt like maybe it was a kind of a Calvin type of a, like a rugged kind of a guy. But this time, like Melissa said, it felt more of a dominating. And what sparked that for me was when we were in the bathroom, in the honeymoon suite, we were trying to communicate with a female in the bathroom, and we weren't getting any responses. And so to set the scene, the consensus was there's this dominating force here. It's almost like someone's trying to speak up and it's pushing them away. Whatever's in this room is keeping everyone back, and everyone's afraid of it. So they can't come through, and it was just like a struggle in there. That honeymoon suite to me felt like a struggle for anything that was in there because of this dominating presence.
Okay, Natasha, is this because it's just a character flaw in this particular entity, or do you feel that there's something to hide?
He doesn't want us to know about his serial killings.
Serial killings. Oh, okay.
He doesn't want us to know.
And Natasha, you were going to mention, when behind the scenes we were chatting, you were going to mention the mirrors, because I feel like the mirrors also play a role. That room, I don't know if you could see in any of the footage, but that room is just wall-to-wall mirrors. So Natasha, did you want to talk about mirrors and portals and things?
Right. So from a witch perspective, mirrors are portals. And what I notice is every time I go to the Glen Tavern, there are more mirrors.
Oh.
And this suite has a whole wall of mirror.
So it could amplify the energy that's already in there. So he's a dominating, domineering, authoritative, controlling spirit, but then he's using the mirrors in the space to get even more power.
I've heard this tale, as you all have, more times than I can remember, whether it was my own residential cases or hearing stories from other investigators or some of the shows even, where look at the movie Poltergeist, same kind of thing. There's just this one that's controlling many. And visualize, because I'm socially programmed, that it is something that is malevolent. But what if it's just a psychological influence? And I'd love any or all of you to respond to this. When we talk about, and I go back to a time again, and I know Ken mentioned it early on, about most of the spirits being of a strong Christian faith turn of the century, that the possibility that whatever's influencing them is preying upon their faith to not allow them to interact. It may not be with the correct intent. It may be with malintent. It may be a malicious being, but that it is overriding everyone else's decision. And terror can come in many different forms. So it may not be, it's a demon, so I'm not going to respond. But this here could create damnation for me in my afterlife. So I'm not going to respond because the fear of God is being instilled in me by this other individual. Is that a possibility too? And I guess, Melissa, from your perspective going in there, entity, spirit, manipulative, what do you think it is?
You know, I mean, it's really hard to say. In this particular case, it felt like this spirit felt like it was a human. You know, to me, it felt like it had been a human, and it was not a very nice human. It felt like an kind of old-fashioned, I want to say, you know, at least 100 years ago, thereabouts. And it felt like, you know, he felt like he was a person who harmed other people in his time, you know, to the point of probably murdering people. Just felt like you know, because that's the thing about spirits, you know, I'm honestly more afraid of the living than I am of any spirit, you know what I mean? And, you know, I do feel like, you know, even if there are evil spirits, whether they were humans or demons or whatever, you know, whatever entity, they can't really do that much. You know what I mean? They can't really, in my opinion, in my experience, harm us that much. I see your face, George. What do you got to say?
Well, we always talk, you know, bad in life, bad in the afterlife. And you take a Jim Jones or a David Koresh or a a Charles Manson, you know, and you have that type of power of influence. And not saying all of the followers were simpletons, but they just happen to be sheep in nature. So could not a person who was that way now in the afterlife still know how to manipulate the minds of the people on the other side?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's where you get like the idea of the trickster spirit, you know? So you might have a spirit that comes in and is like pretending to be your grandmother and is actually, you know, something that wants to manipulate you, get you to do bad things, you know? So, you know, that absolutely could, you know, that could happen. They could, you know, whisper to you to hurt yourself, hurt others. And, you know, if you didn't have the presence of mind to, block that out and shut it down as soon as you started to experience it, I mean, something could happen.
Well, this is where an extraction would happen.
Meaning? Because
there's not maybe enough enlightenment there for the more submissive spirits to understand, or maybe they were there during his time and they are well aware of what he was capable of doing. So
and still under his spell. Yes.
They're trapped in that sort of loop. Yeah, Mikey.
Before you go to Mikey, Cheryl, if you're dialoguing with Tim, he unplugged his camera and that sound was still going on. Ask him if he could just simply reboot. I'm going to kick because right now this is all we got. So
okay.
I'm going to kick him off and see if he can't reboot the system and then come back on.
You got it.
Thanks. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mikey.
I was just real quick. I was going to share that I found it interesting when Natasha mentioned that the spirit had a serial killer type of vibe, because in the history that I had done, I didn't find any serial killer type things that had happened there. But what I did realize, or what I thought about, was how Tim had mentioned earlier about the railroad. There's a train station just north of the hotel, and the hotel was built for the oil workers and agricultural workers that were coming in on the train initially. So it would make sense to me that if there was a serial killer and Boston and they hopped on a train, they could end up in California running from whatever it was they were trying to run from, it, because we're talking about a hotel. So it's not like a church that's haunted or a cemetery that's haunted or just a house that's haunted. That we're talking about a building where people are coming going all the time. Right. So it could very well be that this evil person ended up in Santa Paula, and that's where they remain forever.
Right. We got more evidence, Ken, correct?
We do, and I think we are going to go right now. I'm not sure if this is the closet, bathroom you were talking about, but we're going to hear from Elizabeth right now. Does anybody kind of want to set this up for us?
Cheryl?
Well, this one, we were actually already in room 307, and we kind of decided that we wanted to kumbaya inside the closet where all the action's supposed to happen. And we were just kind of trying to do basic questions because Melissa didn't know anything about the location. Okay.
So we have about a 30-second clip, and then we have an enhanced version. So let's go with the longer clip right here. This is someone, a female spirit, letting herself be known.
Spirit, could you introduce yourself to me and tell me your name, please? What was that?
Could you introduce yourself to me and tell me your name, please?
Goosebumps just watching that.
Every time.
I am going to just hit the shortened version. It's only a couple of seconds long.
Could you introduce yourself to me and tell me your name, please?
Okay. So you guys obviously are doing an EVP burst session there. Probably one of your techniques. So where does Elizabeth fit into this whole puzzle?
Well, when we first walked into that room, I started to vibe it out. Of course, these guys, they already knew, what had happened in there and everything, but I was just sort of vibing it out. And at first I was feeling something strange over the head of the bed. And then I kept getting drawn to the closet, and I was like, I have to just go in here. And the second that I stepped into that closet, I got chills from head to toe. I went in, I kind of shut the door a little bit alone, and I turned and I looked out, and I felt something right behind me, like basically touching my shoulders, and I could feel like a breath on the back of my neck. And I got to tell you, it was super, super creepy. But I was like, okay, something happened in here. I definitely felt like someone had died, or something awful had happened in that closet. And I got a sense of a couple of different entities. I got a male, I got a female. I wasn't really sure the dynamic or what all had happened. But then I know Cheryl can share with us information about that closet.
Well, actually, it is said that a prostitute was murdered in that room, beheaded, and thrown in the closet. Now, as of yet, I've not heard a name attached to that person. They just called her the Lord of the Rose, and honestly, in the EVP session, we did not hear Elizabeth. We thought it said yes, but it was after Mikey took it home and really listened to it that it came out Elizabeth, and it's unmistakable. So I think it's a possibility. We'll have to revisit this location because now we have a name that we can possibly get more information from.
It's difficult, probably, and by all means, do your diligence on this, but it all depends. We talked about hotels and taverns and inns being very transient, and you don't know. I mean, there is a place that we often go to that was an inn and a tavern, but there aren't things like guest books lying around. Those things have been forgotten through the ages at this point. So it can be a very difficult task. It may be someone who was trying to run from somebody who spent one night there, or perhaps died of natural causes, or maybe they were never there at all, but, it would be a lot better if it was, not such a common name. But one never knows. So I wish you good luck in finding that, because it just adds to the lore of that particular location. So you got your work cut out for you, but I wish you well.
What I find interesting too, and Ken, if you want to play the short clip one more time,
sure.
Going by the, if you want to call it urban legend, that she was beheaded. Listen to the voices almost gasping, like it really couldn't produce any oxygen because it didn't have lungs, even though I know it's spirit form. But just that's the first thing when you said that it was the head that was in there, that maybe that's why that sound is the way that it is. If you could play that again.
Sure. You like the longer clip?
Sure.
Okay, here we go.
Spirit, could you introduce yourself to me and tell me your name, please? What was that?
Just struggling, absolutely struggling. It looks like, speaking of struggling, Tim is back. Now it sounds like a kitten purring.
Oh, it's still there.
We can almost live with
yeah. we can work.
We can
around
handle
that.
a little purr with Tim.
Yeah.
If that's anything, it's my refrigerator stuff.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, you just like slide a shim under it.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to go back to Mikey. Mike, did you want to chime in on something here before we?
Yeah, real quick, if we had just a second. First of all, thanks
Sure.
to Jay Blimke for that amazing video footage of that closet. But I wanted to point something out, Ken, that you and I and Georgia talked about on the show before, because we're marrying the tech with the mediums, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that clip is special because you can tell that we're using the DR60. That's our device, and you can see how I'm holding it. You can see when we're done asking the question, I reach over and stop, and I don't touch it anymore because I don't want the mechanical noise at the end. But it's very important for me to do that in this investigation because I want to get good evidence when Melissa and Natasha and Tim or whoever's feeling whatever they're feeling. I want to try to validate that with the equipment. So the techniques that we use and the viewers watching, the people that are going out and do this, it's super important that you're not contaminating when you're recording, so that you can have clips like this. That was just Elizabeth. I mean, it's clear as day. So that was a great clip and a great marriage of the two techniques. You know,
things to never put your recorder down on metal, and if you have it in your hand, always do with an open palm.
Yeah.
Want to get into this 5-second clip that is just simply entitled Death. So this was something, I think, Mikey, you must have done this at home later on and filmed it, right? As you ran it through software?
I did, just to slow it down a little bit and enhance it a little bit, because I wanted to be able to, there was some debate on what was said. So,
okay.
Feel free you tell us what you hear.
All right. So everybody out there, this is subjective. And I love when people put these things forth and allow you to make up your own mind. Background on this real quick. Where was it?
This is also in the closet of 307.
Okay.
Kind of asking those general questions.
All right. So this is what we got. Tell us what you think.
Can you tell us what happened in this room?
Okay, it's a quick burst. I'll play it again.
Can you tell us what happened in this room?
I get chills again.
He's not wrong.
For me, I hear a D. I hear a little, at the beginning. But again, everyone else is better at this than I am. So,
yeah, I can get on board with death. I mean, it was hard to hear live when we did it. We didn't really come up with anything, but after hearing it, enhanced a little bit, I'm on board with death.
Yeah, I think the thing that we always have to be mindful of is that there's no confirmation bias, because if you're in a location where there was a murder and this is happening, and you hear, you almost want to hear the word murder. So we all have to be careful when listening to the, easier said than done.
Right.
Easier said than done, but
and the chat seems to agree with death as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we have a consensus here that okay, Joe says beyond clear. Sandy says yeah, death. So we're going with that rule of three. 3 people say it says the same thing. We go with it. 2 out of 3, Class B. All right, so want to move on to this might have led you on your path. We have something that you asked the $64,000 question. Not enough people ask, "Can we help you?" Rather than just trying to get evidence, is there something we can do? So this is to help me if anybody wants to set that up.
Yeah, well, basically, my whole goal with doing seances, with doing ghost hunts, any of this thing, I don't want to just be a looky-loo. I want to be of service. I want to help. And so if I come across a spirit that feels distressed in any way, my natural inclination is to say, how can we help you? What can we do? And the theme of this whole night was this feeling from the moment I got there that there was a spirit that wanted our help for some reason. So this is in the same room. This is in 307. It's the room where I'm standing outside when I first get there and I say something that wants help, and then we go inside and we, after discussion, after hearing about this dominating spirit, we're thinking, okay, well, this dominating spirit is hurting these other spirits. So let's talk to these other spirits and see what they want us to do for them.
Okay. Let's see where we are right now. Now we're heading into the last couple of clips. So why don't we take some questions here? I don't want to belabor this too much. We have 3 in queue. First question comes from Sandy Andrews, fellow Rhode Islander. Makes you wonder, if spirits can harm living people, can they harm other spirits? That's an excellent question. What do you think? Let's give Tim a shot here. Tim, what do you think?
Yes, but indirectly.
Okay.
They can affect your mood, the way that your body functions. There are times when I'm here at home just sitting and I'll feel something just pressed down on my side. And I know that that's a spirit and I have to address it. And usually I'll tell them to just leave me alone for now. I'll get to you later. I think that's.
But you think in a more physical harm has got to be a very thing. I know everybody wants to jump to it because it's exciting and it's terrifying and that's what sells. But I think for the most part, you're talking more psychologically and spiritually, are we not?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I would say spirits can absolutely harm other spirits because of that psychological nature. They can make them
define harm to me. Is that in the same way, Melissa, or?
Well, I feel like it's I guess control is a better thing. In the witch world, we often talk about how one of the major differences, and I don't know if I agree with this, but in certain witch circles, they talk about the difference between a living person and a spirit being that the living person has free will, whereas the spirit does not. The spirit can be more easily controlled, just because it's energy, and you can direct energy with iron, you can trap energy in a spirit prism, things like that. So for me, I would equate harm with control. If as a spirit, you want to be a free spirit, you want to be able to just float around and do whatever you want to do. You don't have a body anymore. And then you have, some other spirit with ill intention that wants to swoop in and try to control you for some reason. Why would that reason be? Well, it could just be that they are a dominating, controlling spirit that wants to control them. Or it could be yes, exactly. The next thing I was going to say, it could be that they are feeding off of the energy of those other spirits. Because you have to understand, some spirits struggle with making themselves known because they don't have a lot of energy, and spirits have to get energy from somewhere to make, knocks and lights flicker and things like that. So it could just be that they are this one dominant spirit is like gathering up all these other spirits and feeding off of it.
Melissa, I want you to address this as a psychic medium, as an intuitive, and the work that you do and have done. I have such a pet peeve about this field where, again, social programming from seeing the shows or movies or what have you, is that when people go into a location and they start to get a headache or a stomach ache or a sharp pain in their neck or whatever, and it's immediately, let's get them out of here. Would you not agree, experiencing it the way that you do, that sometimes is the raw, most basic form of communication, if they can't do anything else to manifest, that they are sharing their pain with that person, and leaving disconnects. It breaks that connection between the two. Speak on that. Am I in the ballpark there? Should people not all of a sudden break that connection and run away?
Well, first of all, 100%, I do feel like that's how they're trying to make a connection with you. I do mediumship readings, and, oftentimes if someone has a specific person they want to get into contact with, the person who comes, the first thing they'll do is make me feel what they felt when they died. So all of a sudden my heart hurts, or my stomach hurts, or my head hurts. And it's super unpleasant, but I share it with the person, and the person will be like, oh my gosh, he died of a heart attack or what have you. And then I know instantly I've got the right person. I've got who they want to talk to, and I can use that to boost my connection with that spirit. And what I usually will say is, spirit, I thank you. I feel what you're trying to let me feel, and I appreciate it. Can you please back off now? Good. If I were to break off and run out of the room, I would lose that connection altogether.
Right.
Yeah, to bounce off of that, just as a little tech guy looking inside note, Tim and Melissa both had a physical reaction to something happening in 307. Tim was in the chair in the corner, and he physically became pale, and like I thought he might have been passing out, like low blood sugar type of a thing. But then he started feeling better, and I look over at Melissa, who's not saying anything, but she's now feeling it. And I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, I said, "You're not. What's happening? Tell us what you're feeling so that we can keep going with this. Like, what piece of equipment do I need to turn on, or do you need to sit down, or what's going on?" So not running from it, we were, keep going. What's happening, and then let's document it as we go, as long as everyone's safe and can push forward.
Yeah. Whose ass do I have to kick here for you guys to continue? Natasha, Tim, when you're involved in mediumship, you're feeling these type of things, how, if it does, affect you physiologically? Is there a weakness involved? Is there some kind of discomfort, or how does that work for you?
I feel the physical symptoms too. I tend to be able to shield that, I think, to some extent, where I can then move forward. I agree with you completely about how, I'm sorry, if you're getting something, you go towards it. You came here to experience this, and now you're running away.
Mm-hmm.
Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, we are our fear, essentially.
Yeah.
Tim, how about yourself? Are you affected adversely or at any point during these sessions?
Oh, yes. There was one spirit that came to me at my house, and I felt like severe pressure on my chest, and like turning of the stomach, which I took to be that they had been crushed. And I felt that for a good 10, 15 minutes. So it does do a bit of a toll on the body, but then it goes away. So, and then you've already helped that spirit to move on. But the lasting, yeah, it does.
Yeah, you could physically see it on Tim when whatever we had going on left the closet. Tim was immediately affected, and he said it, felt like it hit him right in the chest. And then we're looking at each other like, the closet feels fine now.
Yeah.
So like it totally left the closet and went to Tim.
And he looked drained.
Yeah.
All
the
color just left his face.
Completely.
He took on like a green hue. And he didn't seem like himself for like a couple of minutes. It was intense.
I didn't know the green hue thing. I mean, I felt perfectly fine. But
let's hit a couple
I
more.
like to just further really quick. I think too, you can't go to a place and leave it worse than you found it.
Exactly.
Yep.
And we are trying to help and make sure we close off at the end.
Yes. Yeah, we don't just stir up and then leave it all in chaos.
Correct. Right. Want to hit a couple of more questions here. Mike Pelletier has a question. It feels like a hostage situation in this case. Can the alpha spirit feed off the other spirits like a parasite?
I would say absolutely. Yeah. And it did feel like a hostage situation. That's a really good way to put it, because, when we were, throughout the investigation, as this narrative sort of appeared before us from all of our evidence, it was very clear to us that this dominant alpha spirit was holding what seemed to be mostly women spirits, or and maybe even other men spirits, but whatever other spirits it was holding, it was like that he was controlling them all. He was keeping them there. He was keeping them quiet. He didn't want them to speak out for themselves. And every time we tried to make a connection with another spirit, we'd get that other spirit for a little bit, and then the alpha one would come like bulldozing into the room and take over again. So yeah, it definitely felt that way.
I wonder too if there can be. Go ahead, Mikey.
I was going to say, this started in the suite, in the honeymoon suite, and for me, and this is just my personal experience with this investigation, what happened, I feel like maybe charging that hallway like we did before we went in there. I feel like the female spirit that was asking for help in the honeymoon suite, that was getting beat down by the dominant one, maybe that charge helped give her the energy she needed to follow us, because it felt like she followed us, like, hey, don't leave, stay with me and help me, and to 307. And then continuing the story there from that. But I feel like charging that area and giving them that little boost maybe was what they needed, because otherwise they would have just been held down. They weren't strong enough to follow us through, or that's kind of how it felt as it was all playing out.
Yeah, and I have to wonder too if there can't be some type of Stockholm syndrome involved, where the captor or the submissive spirit, as it was, begins to identify with whoever is restraining them. If we're carrying over these human characteristics, that someone is under oppression, that they don't recognize it, or they just refuse to acknowledge it. But now we're getting into
Well, I want to add to add to what Ken is saying. Again, you take a living person scenario of a psychologically abusive relationship, whatever that may be, husband and wife, family members. It's a horrible thing where that person starts to give up their free will. So you wonder in this situation too. Look, death is traumatic enough. When that individual realizes that they've moved on, it must be the most vulnerable thing that could possibly happen to a psyche. And then in comes this dominating spirit, this bully that decides that they're going to mentally whip you for decades, possibly centuries, and how that must play on that psyche of that spirit. It's a sad way to think about it, but it's horrible.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Got one more question we're going to take from Manchester, England. Seriously, what do you guys think of Ouija boards? This was a question off the beaten track for tonight, but kind of answered this in my own way. Personally, totally benign. Depends on intention. It's plastic, cardboard, ink. You know, I know for me, it's like, I understand it's like opening ceremonies, like the Olympics, opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies. But I think a lot of times we're the X factor, because it doesn't say take it into the attic, light candles around it, and go to a graveyard and use it. I mean, it started out as a parlor game.
Yep.
You know, so a guy and a girl could touch knees back in the 1900s. Ooh, you know. I don't know. Real quickly, if you guys want to respond to that.
Honestly, I love Ouija boards. I've been using them since I was a preteen. You know, I you know, there's this whole thing like only use it if it's like you're with another person, or at least, you know, 2 other people or whatever. I mean, I was like 11 years old in my bedroom playing with a Ouija board by myself and talking to spirits. You know, it's to me, it's just like a pendulum. It's just like a dowsing rod. It's anything else. The only difference, of course, is that you're getting specific letters. I don't have a problem with using them at all. However, I recognize that a lot of people do. You know, I blame, you know, was it The Exorcist? Is that what the movie that it was in? But, you know, I blame horror movies on people. Yeah, I blame horror movies on it, you know, especially for Gen X. But, you know, it's all of it to me is what you give is what you get, you know? So when I go into a situation with a Ouija board, this is the comment right here about if you ask for evil, you're going to get evil, you know? So it's all about how you set your intentions. You know, you go in and you say, oh, you know, I hope that I can speak to some spirits of light, blah, blah, or, you know, whatever, positive, happy spirits, whatever it is that you want to ask for, that's what you're going to get. If you go in and you're like, oh, I want to hear a demon, you know, you might get one.
I don't know. You know, everything was fine until Captain Howdy showed up in The Exorcist in 1972.
Right.
And now all of a sudden, it shows you the power of television
Suggestion.
and movies, and because up to then it was like this cute little thing, and all of a sudden Captain Howdy shows up, and it's like portals to hell.
I mean, Ouija boards are so all-American that before that, Norman Rockwell did a
Saturday
painting
Evening
of one.
Post, right?
Exactly.
You know, with the knees touching under the table. Hey, you two, leave room for the Holy Ghost. And finally, because I smell brownies cooking at my house downstairs, my wife is making brownies. So that's it. We got to rush through the show. David Fritz, good question. Why do spirits need energy? They must have energy of their own.
Well, they do, you know, because they are energy, they do have energy. The reason why they would need more energy is to interact with our world. So the belief is that, you know, we as, you know, spirits in a body, we're sort of down here, and spirits without bodies are, you know, up here, they're above us. And so we have to raise our vibrations to meet them, and they have to kind of lower theirs to meet ours. And in lowering theirs, they need more energy, you know, especially if they want to interact with things, if they want to knock on walls or make things move or what have you. So, you know, normally they don't need energy if they're just existing and just floating about, you know, whatever. But if they want to interact with us, if they want to talk to us, they would have to get a little energy. And usually with mediums, the reason why we can connect with one of the ways in which we connect with other spirits is we kind of, at least me, myself, I lend a little of my energy to the spirit. And I'll say like, hey, you know, take a little of my energy so you can make make contact and send a message, you know. Don't take too much though.
All right, I want to get back to the last 3 clips we have, and if you have children's in the room, the next 2 clips are not suitable for work, so that's my disclaimer. You have been warned. But this happens every once in a while. And let me ask you a question. Set it up. Is this the same guy? You think so?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So do you think this is the alpha male or somebody else?
Yeah, this one is
Alpha.
actually from room 308 when we first got started. So it seemed like immediately he wanted to make his presence known.
Okay. So warning in advance, this guy's kind of a dick, in other words. So here is the first clip.
Sir, if you may, can we get your name, please?
And there you have it.
I asked nicely.
I thought you were very polite when you asked. But again, it's that personality thing in the afterlife. Can I? Was this a common thing where was this guy annoyed because you asked so much, or was it just a simple question that you're just trying to acknowledge this guy?
Mikey?
I have an opinion on that.
Go ahead,
I think he was angry that we were there because I think that whatever spirits he was trying to oppress, that Melissa, Tim, Natasha picked up on, I think they felt like, hey, there's someone here that knows we're here. There's someone here that can help us. And I think that guy was upset that we were there and that they recognized maybe a potential connection. This is all just, so now he's mad because we're messing up his game. He doesn't want us there. So any question that we throw out or anything we have to do, any equipment, whatever, he just wants us out because now we're a threat to him.
Cheryl, do you get that a lot from the spirit realm?
I mean, not usually. I mean, I got a piss off in Scotland, but this is my first FU, so just putting more on my resume.
Welcome to the club.
Thank you. I'm not going to take it personal, but
I wouldn't. No, Natasha got, what were you called, a banshee? Natasha?
I was called a banshee, and I was told I lied, and a lot of other things by this guy. And
we're looking right into your eyes, and nothing has happened yet. So
right.
we're on the request line here. We have a request to play it again. So here we go. Might as well just lose the show. We'll be off the air before you even get a chance, Melissa. Here we go.
Sir, if you may, can we get your name, please?
There you have it. But not to be outdone a little bit later, the same guy shows up with an attitude. So let's just get right to it.
What did you guys get? We're pretty sure we gotta fuck you.
Yeah. Do you want to play it again for Jay's camera?
Just a moment. Sir, if you may, can we get your name, please?
Did you hear it?
Mm-hmm. I did.
Like real quick at the end.
Yeah. So that's the second time in this Glen Tavern that we've been.
Yes.
The same thing happened before. Rick McCollum was told, "Fuck you," in room 306. So there's some angry spirits here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the same guy. Yeah.
Yeah, same guy.
And the room goes totally quiet.
Right.
Well, that's 308. That was the suite. That's where we first felt him. And then, moving on throughout the investigation, we figured out why. And,
Mikey, do you want to set that up? Because you had an interesting theory about the nice guy and.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, real quick. We're in 307 now. We've had all this happen in 308. We thought at one point when we felt something leave the closet, Tim said, no, it's still here. Melissa said, and this is what's really sparked for me. Melissa said, there is a male spirit in 307. There is another male spirit here, but this one is timid. This one's very reserved and very shy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, so we have a-hole in 308 and we've got shy guy down here in 307. And we've got this female trying to follow us from 308 to 307. She's still talking to us. And so we thought maybe, this was just a thought, maybe the guy in 307, the timid guy, had a thing for the female that was being, dominated by this male spirit and wasn't able to help her. he was just trapped in 307. Maybe there was a spiritual love thing happening, but he was broken. He couldn't do anything for her because of this other guy. And she's trying to keep our attention. Help me. Don't go, please. We're so close type of a thing is how it felt. Right. And so we just kept asking questions and rolling with it. And I mean,
and if I can just interject, at one point, we, as all of the mediums, and we kind of got everyone else to help us too, we decided we wanted to help this female spirit. We wanted to free her from the alpha male spirit. And we had, I don't think we have any clips of this, but there was a little like back and forth sort of fight with the alpha male spirit for a hot second as we were commanding and telling him to leave the female spirit alone. And we, work together as mediums to open up a portal to sort of usher her out, to sort of just release her. She was trapped and we wanted to release her. But then after we released the spirit, the timid guy, he was still left. The good guy was left. And we had this really heart-wrenching, unbelievable experience with him. Mikey, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, even before that, though, and Ken, I'm not sure if you have the clip of the female voice asking
Will I be
for
okay?
Help.
No, there's a help me from a female that we got in 307.
Would you like me? I do. I can play it whenever you want.
Yeah, just to set it up again, remember before the break, I was talking about that spirit box session, and Melissa said there's a female begging for help. And then here we are now in 307. This is why I felt like this was moving from the suite down to where we were, because and then play that clip, you'll hear why.
Okay, here we go.
Spirit, tell me what you need me to do to help you.
And you can hear it in the voice. You can hear the desperation. Help me. Like she's begging us to not go, to listen, please. And so it was after then that the mediums got together and they're like, we're going to open this veil. We're going to help her go. And then they saw her go, or they felt like she had left, and there was it was lighter in the room. And then we kind of all looked at each other and we said, well, what about the nice guy that's in here? The boyfriend, if you will, that's kind of hanging around. So
we got about 4 minutes left, and I definitely want to play this clip. And for me, I saved this to last because I thought this is really poignant. And it gets to the heart of what you were trying to do, because I'm not sure how many I mean, we've seen it on TV, but I don't know if they regularly have investigators there. I don't know how many times people speak to these spirits, if they're used to communicating with people, or you did something a little bit different and you hit one of those, I don't want to say you hit a nerve, but you hit their sweet spot, in as much as, give me evidence, move something, as opposed to, how can we help you? Are you in distress? But I want to play this before we get out of here, and speaks for itself. So it's a good way to end the clips.
Hey, buddy, nice guy. We all have your back in here. We feel like if you needed our help.
Will I be okay? Oh, stop.
Hey, buddy, nice guy.
Did you
We
hear?
all have your back in here. We feel like if you needed our
Will
help.
I be okay?
Help your
Do one more time.
Hey, buddy, nice guy. We all have your back in here. We feel like you needed our help to help your.
Will I be okay?
You will be okay, my friend.
Okay. Okay.
You feel like you're trapped here.
Oh God! Now I'm all
Need
goofy.
our help also.
I do.
Okay.
I
Okay.
do.
Let's keep going then.
Okay,
Right?
yeah,
Are we
let's
on a
do
roll?
it. Yeah. Let's help him.
I still have
I don't know.
chills.
Yeah, why you guys always
Great
make me
clip.
cry?
I know. I was like, oh.
Great clip.
It is. It's why we do what we do. There's no other way about it. It's and as some of the people were commenting in the chat, you guys are exceptional investigators. There's compassion, there's intuition, and there's determination to get down to the answers and help. It was a spirit rescue at the Glen Tavern. Cannot thank you guys enough for joining us tonight. We are all at a time. Again, on the horizon, keep watching. Don't forget to hit that reminder bell. Secrets of the Craft will be coming your way here on Dead Air Full Spectrum in a very, very short span of time. Until then, we're all at a time here, guys. And we thank you for joining us. We'll see you again, same time next week. Until then, have a great week, and you guys take care. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Don't forget, Secrets of the Craft coming in April.
I already said that.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
I'm saying it again.